Hello, it's Mr. Fitzwarren's dad here. This is my next lesson, lesson 2, all about fractions, and today we're going to have a little look at how they link with decimals. So here's some fractions that we've got here. Now hopefully they should be quite straightforward. So you've got 1/2, a half, a quarter, and then 3 lots of 1/4, which makes 3/4, where we just colour in 3 of those, so that's the same as that, which is equivalent. So don't forget that sometimes you can make these numbers bigger, so you could double both. So 6/8 is equal to 3/4. So have a think about how you could make that bigger. So it could be 2/8, or you could even triple them. So 1, 2, 3 would be 3/12. Now what we usually do is you start with that one and you're asked to simplify it. So we usually go that way around. So it might be that you've got 14/28, and because this one, 14, is half of 28, that's equivalent to a half. So what we're going to do now is rub that out, and then we're going to show you some new things. So if I just rub those out, this app is called Explain Everything, and it's really good because it records your voice and it allows me to do different things. Now unfortunately I've rubbed out the background, but never mind, we'll just have to remember that that was 1/4. So what we're going to do now is we're going to just try and introduce you to decimals. So those are fractions. And what I usually do with the children is I usually say, right, let's put 1/4 in there. So we'll cut it into 4 equal bits and we'll colour one in. But we also have to remember that there could be one where nothing was shaded in. So that's 1/4, but this is 0, which is the same as 0/4. None of them are coloured in. So what you have to begin to do is to start to think of these in order. So that's the biggest. That's the second biggest. Think about which the third biggest is. It's a half. Then the fourth biggest is a quarter. And then the smallest, or the fifth biggest, is that one, which is 0. So what we need to be able to do is change those into decimals. The way I always do it is to say, imagine you've got the whole lot. Well, that is 1. But because it's a decimal, we need a decimal point, so we call it 1.0. Now that's exactly the same as 1, because there's nothing on the end, whereas this would be different to 0. Even though it had a tiny bit on the end, it's still not 0. It's still not 1, apologies. So we put that in there. Let's do all these in blue in a box so you can see them. So if that's 1.0, this would be just 0. Now we don't usually add zeros on the end. We usually just say that's 0. That means nothing, basically. So once you've done these two, you can start to fill in the gaps. So if we go down here, a half, if that's 1 and that's 0, this is going to be exactly in the middle, so 0.5. And some people think of it as between 5 and 10, so 5 is between 0 and 10. So this is a little bit harder because we've got, if you think of this one, a quarter is a half of a half, which is a quarter. So we've got to halve this one. So that makes 0.25. And some people think of it as, well, if that had a 0 on, that would be 50 there. So it would be 0.50. Half of that, half of 50 is 25. So it's 0.25. But you've obviously got to put the decimal points in. Otherwise, everybody will be confused. But remember, we don't need a decimal point on this one at the end here. So we've only got one to do. The way I do this is say, if that's a quarter and this is 3/4, this must be 3 times as much. We've got 3 times as much pizza or pie. So if that's 0.25, we need to multiply that by 3. So it becomes 0.75. So have a great half term, and we'll do some more maths after the holiday. Bye.